thought for the day. I want to talk about not the elephant in the room, but the altar in the room. Our Dia de los Muertos altar has it's a tradition here in a lot of places. So for the month of November, we remember our dead. So we have pictures of folks that we love who have gone. But it's also a time to remember and to reflect on death and our own mortality. You know, if you watch any kind of disaster movie at all, fire, earthquake, flood, apes taking over San Francisco, Martians attacking the White House, there's always that obligatory scene where there's panic in the streets and people are running and someone will look at the camera, we're all gonna die! You know? Well, not to ruin your weekends, but newsflash, we're all gonna die. That's kind of the way it is. And so we have to come to terms with that. And that's partly what this month is about. And so we reflect on it, and it's a good and healthy thing because it keeps us anchored in the present moment when we do it. A lot of people have weighed in on this subject over the years, of course. I remember Moreno, whose statue bust is there, who is no longer with us, used to say death is a punk, which is to say put it in its place. The Dalai Lama would say change of clothing. Other people would say it's like selling your old car or a major change of address. I'm an English major, so death is a comma, not a period. So if death is the worst thing that can happen to you, then you'll be toppled by life. If death is the worst thing that could happen to you, you're not paying attention. So what are we to do? Well, a lot of times our reaction is we stare. Sometimes we'll stare at the watch. When will it happen? Of course, we're not supposed to do that. Jesus, showed up when his good friend Lazarus had died, and Martha said, if you had been here, my brother never would have died. And he said, I am the resurrection and the life. You believe and you have life. We're not even supposed to stare at him. He wants us to look elsewhere. Staring is not watching. Staring is not looking. Staring is no kind of paying attention at all. Staring is just deadening and it's paralysis. We're supposed to be attentive and watchful. And newsflash, Lazarus eventually died. So we're supposed to pay attention to the risen life hidden in this one. We're supposed to catch those glimpses every day. There's so many of them, of eternity present here and now. We're supposed to find the luminous meaning in every encounter in this place today. We're not supposed to be staring at our watches, or even at Jesus. He doesn't want that. He wants us to look at what's happening here and find the risen life hidden in it. So I've buried 194 young people killed because of gang violence, and I remember years and years ago there was a homie named Spider who was killed. Well, he was shot first and languished in General Hospital for 2 months, and he finally died. And I can remember being in the backyard of his home with his family and friends and homies, and one homie was just sobbing uncontrollably, and another homie named Boxer put his arm around him and he said, don't worry, God just took the day off. He'll be here tomorrow. Well, it didn't occur to me to kind of question his theology about God and whether or not God takes days off. But the truth is, he tenderly put his arm around that guy and he stood in for God when people thought God had stepped out. Eternity right there. Luminous meaning. The risen life hidden in a tender glance and consoling word. That's the way it works. Some years ago I buried another kid named Richard, but I went to his home right after I heard he had been shot and killed. And of course the family was beside themselves with grief. But they took me into his bedroom and they opened the closet, and there was a strongbox that they hadn't opened. It contained all of Richard's valuables, so they found the key and they opened it in my presence. And sure enough, filled with valuables. No money, no gun or bullets, just prayers prayers that he had liked, prayers he had ripped out of books, prayers that he had written himself, expressing his highest aspiration and longing and desire. One of the prayers in his own handwriting, written on a tiny piece of paper, said only this: "We conquer by continuing," and that's true enough. We conquer by continuing to find the risen life hidden in this one. We conquer by continuing to believe in the power of tenderness. We conquer by continuing to find the luminous meaning in every encounter you will have today. And who knows, maybe God occasionally does take a day off. But you'll put your arm around somebody and console them in a way that resembles the kind of God we have, assuring each other that he'll be here tomorrow.